from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast.
Coming up on Ag Day, USDA rolls out its June crop reports. We'll sift through the numbers and offer in-depth analysis.
The market may take a day or two to digest this report, but following this report, we're going to be right back to weather.
Amid trade uncertainty with the U.S., China pushes its farmers to plant more beans. We'll talk about the psychology of trading in a volatile market.
So how can you turn that frown upside down? It's by taking actions and not being frozen and having a plan.
A crime caper with avocados in the starring role, and follow a Farm Journal columnist in search of lost treasure.
Ag Day, brought to you by the Chevy Silverado, the most dependable, longest-lasting full-size pickups on the road.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. USDA did not make any changes to its forecast for crop potential for corn and soybeans in the U.S. as the agency releases its monthly supply-demand data, but it did make some adjustments to the supply picture. The Ag Department keeping the corn production estimate at 14 billion bushels with an average yield 174 bushels to the acre. Soybean production and yield also remaining unchanged from last month's forecast, 4.2 billion bushels and a national yield average of 48.5 bushels an acre.
The USDA estimates that 75% of the soybean crop is at good or excellent condition, which is above our 5-year trend. And so, whether that has an impact on yield at the end of the year will probably depend on what weather does between now and then. But it does look like, the planting shifts that we might have expected from the late spring from corn to soybeans have vanished.
Looking at the supply-demand picture, new crop corn ending stocks were pegged at 1.5 billion bushels, down from May, based mostly on increased use for food, seed, and ethanol. Old crop corn was also lowered, coming in at 2.1 billion. In soybeans, new crop registers 385 million bushels, which is on the lower end of expectations, and old crop soy pegged at 505 million bushels.
We saw some nice across-the-board demand increases for corn, soybeans, and wheat on the U.S. balance sheets. In the corn, the projections for corn usage via ethanol and also for exports were increased. We saw the soybean crush demand numbers increased, and we even saw a slight uptick in the projection for wheat exports. So because of those better demand numbers, we saw some lower than expected carryout numbers for the U.S.
Winter wheat harvest now underway across the South, and there may be a few more bushels on the yield monitor. The Ag Department revising its production outlook. USDA put winter wheat at 1.2 billion bushels, up 1% from the May forecast, but it's still down 6% from a year ago. The national average yield hitting about 48.5 bushels to the acre, up slightly from last month, nearly 2 bushels smaller than a year ago. Now, state by state, USDA made no changes to yields in Kansas, Oklahoma, or Texas compared to last month. Wheat seeing a big run Tuesday as news about the size of the global crop rolls in. One of the U.S. largest competitors in the wheat market, Russia, continuing to see yield potential wither. The nation's crop shrinking on dryness and cold, soggy fields and delayed plantings to the north. USDA cutting its forecast of Russian wheat for the first time in 6 years. Wheat futures climbing about 22% in Chicago this year, making the grain one of the top performing commodities on the board.
The Russian wheat crop estimate was lowered by 3.5 million tons, and that was much more than anticipated. And I think the optimism there is that Russia's completely dominated global wheat trade for the past several years. This now opens the door for potential for U.S. exports down the road.
The next big report comes out later this month when USDA releases the June acreage report. It gives the industry a better look at how much corn, soy, and other major crops were actually planted this spring. As winter wheat harvest picks up in the U.S., combine sales jumping this month. According to the Association of Equipment Manufacturers monthly flash report, combine sales were up 52% this May compared to last. Overall in 2018, 27% more combines have rolled off lots during the start of the year. And on the tractor front, sales of tractors are up 5% in that time. The smaller and bigger four-wheel drive units were in positive territory. Larger two-wheel job tractors, well, they were down 1%. The U.S. isn't the only nation planting more soybean acres in 2018. China pushing to grow more amid trade uncertainty. Chinese leaders encouraging farmers to increase soybean acres, shifting from corn in different regions of the country. According to CNBC, one central Chinese province ordering farmers to more than double acres in an effort to reduce reliance on U.S. trade. while the two nations spar over tariffs. China is the world's largest consumer of soybeans. Extreme fire danger prompting officials to shut down a sprawling forest that includes some of Colorado's most stunning mountains. Park officials closed San Juan National Forest as a precaution. Hundreds of miles of trails are now closed to hikers, bikers, and campers. This move comes just as tourist season starts to ramp up. The region attracts visitors from around the world. National forests and parks in Arizona and New Mexico have already been shut down as precautions. It's the first full closure of a national forest in Colorado since 2002, which was another very dry year.
That fire just exploded and it created a vortex which was throwing flames down the mountain, which then went up the mountain all at the same time, and it was scary.
Authorities are still investigating how the fire started. No homes have been lost, although the fire came close to buildings Sunday night. Fire managers credited advanced fire mitigation work by homeowners for helping firefighters save those structures. Mike Hoffman joining us again with a look around farm country. He has today's crop comments. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Clinton. We heard from a farmer in Seneca County, Ohio, which is southeast of Toledo. He says it's been another horrible spring. All it does is rain. Just as it dries out enough to get in the field, they get clobbered again. There are still lots of fields still unplanted. The state NASS report says planting is nearly completed, though, and corn is 87% good to excellent. But this farmer says in his particular area, those numbers are definitely wrong. And a farmer in Caldwell County, Missouri could use some of that rain. He says rain goes around us and the corn leaves are starting to roll every day. He's in the northern third of the state. The drought monitor puts that county in severe to moderate drought. And taking a look at the wind speed forecast, you can see kind of windy conditions from the remnants of a complex of thunderstorms, panhandle of Texas, parts of Oklahoma to start the day. Then as we head through the afternoon, basically the high plains, eastern New Mexico, and also the eastern Great Lakes, a little bit on the breezy side. Heading into tomorrow, not too much to start today except for the eastern Great Lakes, and then we get windier in the northern and central plains, the southwest, and parts of the northeast. We'll check out your forecast coming up in a few minutes, but first here are some hometown temps.
Keeping track of the shifting market prices has never been so easy. Get the latest commodity prices sent directly to your cell phone with market updates. Just text MARKETS8 to 31313 to get started.
All right, up next, we'll talk about the psychology of trading in a volatile market. And later, a reporter's notebook, the hunt for petrified wood on the banks of the Tombigbee River.
Ag Day, brought to you by Top Third Ag Marketing. Farmer first with a plan for every market.
In agribusiness, let's see how those markets reacted to Tuesday's reports. Details now. Let me see.
And it has been somewhat of an exciting day. Let's go back to what we did yesterday. We were under quite a bit of pressure. Corn in particular was down over 10 cents, so we were really under pressure for corn. And then here today we had a report. That report was somewhat friendly. We had a bit of a bullish reaction to it, taking back most of the losses that we saw in corn yesterday. And I do think that the low might be in at this point, although we will be in a weather market going forward. We also had a bit of a friendly report for soybeans. The U.S. old crop and new crop numbers carryover numbers came in below expectations. However, the market didn't have quite as a positive reaction to that, mainly because we're still concerned about what might happen for exports for next year with trade relations being the way they are. So keep an eye on soybeans. Talking about livestock here on a Tuesday, and we've had pretty eventful start to the week with a big key reversal or big sweeping downside reversals in live cattle, feeder cattle, and hogs here on Monday. We started to see some follow through on that early on Tuesday, but really everywhere across the board we've been able to find some strength and bounce off the lows minimally. This is Ted Seifert of Zaner Ag Hedge coming to you from the CME floor.
Tommy Grisafi, Advanced Trading, our guest here at the Agribusiness Desk today. Tommy, I want to talk about the psychology of the market, because this time of year it seems like we generally either are on the way up or on the way down based on weather or planting or what have you. And boy, it is hard to get our heads wrapped around that.
It seems like when the markets go up, everyone's okay with that. That's what they're supposed to do.
Right.
I'm a farmer. I think the markets are going to go up. It's what you do when the markets are up there. Typically, every year we have some rallies. Sometimes they're vicious. That recent move in cotton and soybeans earlier in the year. Corn even was impressive a few weeks ago. And then you you get that sad face all of a sudden. So how can you turn that frown upside down? It's by taking actions and not being frozen and having a plan. It sounds easier to do than it is. And you talk about emotions. Well, all the emotions that go into trying to get a crop planted in 2 weeks in the adverse weather, it just happens. It just seems a lot that when the farmer's so busy and emotionally tired that the markets have a big move. And that one little marketing aspect, you hope you have someone on your team or in your family or someone who's watching the shop for you.
Yeah, it seems like when market's on its way up or the bulls are running, it's easy to be bullish. But when it's on the way down, boy, you fight it.
It's not popular. It's not popular to be bearish. You won't make a lot of money selling subscriptions. There's no famous subscription writers who are really bearish. There's a few, but and when I think of grain markets, I think of technology, and I think how year after year, the yield, if you look at a chart, is going from the bottom left to the top right. So the American farmer, or all farmers, need to get the mentality that they're going to deal with more bushels, not less bushels, having a plan with that. For some reason, everyone knows they're really good at farming, but then they want to pretend like the yield's not going to show up, and they still act shocked when the yield shows up. However it did it, whether it be weather or cool August nights or talking about the reproduction cycle of corn, but it happens, and we're dealing with a lot of bushels. You're in the bushel business, not the weather predicting business, not the presidential tweeting business. So deal with the bushels you have, and I think marketing will come a little easier to you. It's not going to happen overnight.
All right, appreciate it, Tommy. Good advice. We'll be back with more Ag Day in just a minute.
Interested in spending a day with a trader? Call Tommy Grisafi at 800-664-4383.
Welcome back to Ag Day. Meteorologist Mike Hoffman here looking at the weather map. And Mike, it's kind of that time of year where we just get some heat, build some pop-ups, and get a few rain showers.
Yeah, and the biggest focus is going to be along this cold front and stationary front from the southern plains into the Great Lakes this morning. But we also have a warm front in the east that's already causing some showers and thunderstorms. A lot of those developed during the night ahead of a warm front, and we have another system coming into the Pacific Northwest. But as we put the maps into motion, it's going to be along this cold front or ahead of the cold front and back into the southern plains where we do get those pop-up showers and thunderstorms during the afternoon and evening hours. And those will be basically by late today from the eastern Great Lakes into the eastern Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley, back into a few spots in Texas and the desert Southwest. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be big enough coverage to really help with the drought out there. But boy, if you can get your fields to get a whole bunch, it helps you right in that area anyway. Heading through tonight, you can see the front stalling out across Arkansas, southern Oklahoma, into southern Tennessee as we head into tomorrow morning. Rain showers still in the northeast with that area of low pressure. And then as we head through the afternoon hours again, we'll see stuff bubble up mainly in the southeast, near and south of that front. And in the southwest with that the heat low that's always there this time of the year, and a little bit along this cold front coming into the northern plain states and central Rockies, but not a lot, especially into the northern plains the way it looks as we head through this afternoon. So here's the way things shape up. Precipitation estimate over the past 24 hours. We've seen some decent amounts parts of Florida, spotty amounts Ohio Valley into the western Great Lakes. Adding in the next 36 hours, it's kind of more spotty amounts. It all depends on where those heavier thunderstorms occur. Our model is suggesting close to New Orleans, some more areas in Florida and other places in the southeast, and also in northern New England. Checking out temperatures this afternoon. Behind this front, more comfortable temperatures. Northern plains into the northeast, but you can see to the south of it still very muggy. Lots of 90s, southern plains, southern Mississippi Valley. Lows tonight still muggy, 70s as you can see in the southeast. And it continues to be hot throughout the plain states and the southeast, and obviously the desert southwest as well. Checking out the jet stream, you can see this first trough moves through the northeast. Big ridge builds into the northern plains, northern Mississippi Valley, eventually the Great Lakes, and then the trough comes back in the east and the Great Lakes by the middle of next week. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. First of all, Bakersfield, California, sunny, hot, and humid, high of 103. Taking a look at Belfield, North Dakota, partly sunny, rather warm, high of 82. And finally, Springfield, Ohio, warm and humid, could be a thunderstorm, high of 83.
Have you ever paid your bills in produce? We'll tell you about the demand for green gold next on the Packer. And later, Take a dip in the Tom Bigby River as reporter and writer Chris Bennett takes you on the hunt for petrified wood. On the Packer TV, demand for avocados has grown so much that theft of the so-called green gold has become big business. This is especially true in the country of Chile. Bloomberg reporting that demand from European millennials and rich Chinese have pushed the price of avocados so high, even Chilean gangs are hitting orchards and attacking farmers. Prices leaped 9% in Chile last month, 23% from the beginning of the year. Despite profitability, some avocado growers have pulled out the trees in areas where they could not be monitored or secured. Chile has created an avocado police force, the so-called guac cops, to investigate the crime spree. And get this, a retail company in Chile announcing to customers to barter avocados for certain products. One man bought a $500 smartphone for 125 pounds of avocados. The Super Bowl isn't the only game in town for avocado demand here in the U.S. The Haas Avocado Board's analysis of first quarter holiday events showing that sales were up before and after the football finale. The week around Valentine's Day saw volumes rise more than 50%. Sales volumes also climbing 40% around St. Patty's Day. They're also strong during Cinco de Mayo, of course. The Avocado Board attributing the spike in movement to lower prices in the U.S. and plenty of supply. All right, up next, we'll join the search for a fossil lost to time and recovered from the riverbanks of Mississippi.
In the Country, sponsored by Kubota's BV 4580 round baler. Learn more at Kubota.com or visit your local Kubota dealer today.
Farmers and folks in rural corners of the country stumble across all kinds of interesting side roads. Finding those nooks and crannies is what Farm Journal writer Chris Bennett is known for. Well, today he takes us to the Tom Bigby River as it flows through Mississippi and Alabama on the hunt for petrified wood.
Hey y'all, I'm going to show you something cool, something pretty interesting. Right over my shoulder behind me, I'm off a bean field. Bean field rubs right up on the Tom Bigby River. And, it's early June. It's probably going to be close to 100 degrees today. Certainly it's going to creep over that on heat index. Got some white clouds above me right now, but those are going to burn off. We're going to have blue sky. That's going to be perfect for looking in this water. Water just creeps along right here, relatively shallow, even out in the middle. And I'm out here looking for petrified wood. And you can see I've stuck a stick right there in the ground. One little shelf here. There it is. You can see it. I'm gonna creep up on it. And you see what I'm looking at. You hear me crunching on gravel. I'm gonna reach my hand down and pull. And untouched for Lord knows how many years. There it is right there. That's a good piece. It sucked up a lot of this river iron. But you can see that white middle. When we get that cleaned up, that'll be looking like a good piece. I'm gonna keep going right over here. I see another one. Don't know the quality on it at all, but you can see it here. It's looking up at me. Let's see how it does. Yeah, it feels good. Let's see. Oh man, that is nice. That is sharp, son. Yeah. All right. Nothing wrong with that, buddy. That's how you do it right there, man. Off the river and out of the fields. Got about 20 plus pieces of petrified wood, and I put it on this incline and hit it with a pressure washer and got the mud and the river grime off of, at least the top layer off. And it looks like a lot of different trees, a lot of different quality, but it's all got one thing in common, and that is simple pleasure. I mean, you slip off a bean field and into the river, find some petrified wood. You just can't ask for too much more than that.
What a find. Thanks, Chris. For those new to the hunt, petrified wood is a fossil. It forms when plant material is buried by sediment and groundwater, rich in dissolved solids, flows through it, replacing the original plant material with minerals, creating a replica rock. That's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. Spent part of your day with us. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.